you start us in prayer for the pledge? So, yes, Mike, please, I'm sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor, please say the prayer.
Father God, we come before you today in the mighty, mighty name of Jesus. And we thank you for this wonderful time that you've given us. Thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for everything that you're doing here in the city of Monte Vista. We pray, Lord, for your guidance, for your wisdom to be upon the council, Lord. We pray for conviction, Lord. We pray that your will be done. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Approval of consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I believe we do. Sorry, even though I'm not Mr. Mayor. We do have
Yes, sir, we do.
modifications. I move that we remove the Arbor Day proclamation and add the proclamation of a day of prayer in Monte Vista. Also add a proclamation also add the proposal for matching grant funds and a work session on May 1st for a golf course walkthrough.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Modification of the agenda. Is there any discussion? Nita?
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Aye.
Counselor Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Would you like to do roll call too, since I'm really, sorry guys.
Counselor Lorenz,
Here.
Counselor Segala,
Here.
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Here.
Mayor Becker.
I am here.
Counselor Johnson did email and he will be not present this evening, but a quorum is declared.
I apologize, folks. A long day. Now we'll move to approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Nita?
Counselor Ellithorpe,
Aye.
Counselor Segala,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Victor, you might ought to step up and take care of this tonight. Proclamations, communications, and appointments. Proclamation for after-school professionals. Celebrating After-School Professionals Appreciation Week, April 22nd through April 26, 2019 for Kids Connection proclamation. Whereas the citizens of the city of Monte Vista firmly believe that after-school professionals, those who work with children and youth in a wide variety of program settings to provide extended learning opportunities during out-of-school hours, have a positive effect on our children, families, community, and business. Whereas after-school professionals are a decisive element in children's access. After-school professionals are a decisive element in children's access high-quality relationship and expanded opportunities beyond what they have access to at school and home, which they need to reach their full potential. Whereas after-school professionals deserve appreciation for all they do for the children to enhance their education, promote physical and emotional health, provide a safe environment, and expose them to new experiences. Whereas City of Monte Vista is committed to supporting the professionals who provide expanded learning opportunities that will help close the achievement gap and prepare young people to compete in the global economy. Now, therefore, I, Dale Becker, Mayor of Monte Vista, do hereby proclaim April 22nd through April 26, 2019 is After School Professionals Appreciation Week for Kids Connection with the City of Monte Vista, and urge citizens of Monte Vista to join me in the special observance with appropriate events and display of appreciation. Thank you, guys. Jim, hiding in the corner over there. Nika, you guys stand up. Come on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well
I was
deserved.
super excited when it came across my desk. Just complaining not that long ago, it was not there. Like, teachers get appreciated, how come we can't? And then all of a sudden it like popped up, so I was so excited about it. I'm so excited about it.
You need to be.
I tried to get the staff really excited about it, but they were like, watch kids. So they're there finishing up the day yesterday.
Very good.
Mayor Becker,
Yes, ma'am.
this proclamation and appreciation is also being announced on KSLV and KRDO radio station. So all week next week, and it's also in the paper next week.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you guys for what you do. You other guys didn't have anything to say?
I'm glad you struggled with that as much as I did. But I haven't liked words very much this week, so,
Those are some big words.
yeah.
The proclamation for a day of prayer.
Read it first. Read through it a little bit so I don't stumble. Sorry, guys. Proclamation. Whereas civic prayers and national days of prayer have a long and venerable history in our constitutional republic, dating back to the First Continental Congress in 1775, and whereas the Supreme Court has affirmed the right of state legislatures to open their sessions with prayer, and the Supreme Court and the U.S. Congress themselves begin each day with prayer, and whereas in 1988, legislation setting aside the first Thursday in May in each year as a National Day of Prayer was passed unanimously by both houses of Congress and signed by President Ronald Reagan. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is an opportunity for Americans of all faiths to join in united prayer around this year's theme, to love one another. And whereas it is fitting and proper to give thanks to God by observing a day of prayer in Monte Vista when all may acknowledge our blessings and express our gratitude for them, while recognizing the need for strengthening our love for our neighbors. Now therefore, I, Dale Becker, Mayor of the town of Monte Vista, do hereby proclaim the first Thursday in May 2019 to be designated as a day of prayer in Monte Vista, and encourage the citizens of Monte Vista to observe the day in ways appropriate to its importance and significance. Proclaim this the 18th day of April. That's really cool. Very good. Very good. This is a great one. Even though I can't.
come down here, yeah.
You have any scheduled comments? No scheduled? Okay. Now we have citizen comments. That's you, Bert. When you finish my reading here, I can read that. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at the same meeting.
Hello, I'm Bob Gailey, pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Monte Vista. I thank you so very much for reading that proclamation. That's why I'm here tonight. Last year, I'm here to represent not Calvary, but the Ministerial Association of Monte Vista. Last year, for the first time in our valley, we recognized the National Day of Prayer at Calvary. This year, it's going to be May 2nd, Thursday, the first Thursday of May, at the Methodist Church. Steve Dunkel, pastor, and we encourage all of our state officers, our city officers, to attend. The theme this year is to love one another, and I think that's something the country needs, and it's a time of all people, of all faiths, to just pray for our nation and pray for each other to make this place to make Monte Vista a better place to live. It's a great history. And this year there's going to be over 35,000 events, 40,000 volunteers, and upwards to 3 million people participating in the National Day of Prayer. So we encourage all of our city council and everyone that can attend. It's a prayer breakfast, 8 o'clock at the Methodist Church with a small program, and have everybody out there by 9:30. Okay?
Say the date again?
May 2nd,
Thank you.
Thursday, May 2nd, first Thursday in May, 8 o'clock at the Methodist Church downtown for breakfast.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other citizen comments? Contracts, agreements, leases, golf course? That you, Forrest? The golf course stuff?
It can be me. Sure.
Would you like to do that, Forrest?
Well, I would certainly be happy to.
Your mic, because I can't read, so
Well, I'll just start out with the lease itself. As you've discussed at the workshop and a number of times before, you've all seen copies of the City of Monte Vista, Colorado lease city property, which you all have on the DS this evening as well. And the golf club has reviewed that, as has the city attorney. I think everyone's in agreement that is the proposed lease. So that's up for your consideration this evening to vote on whether you would like to approve that lease. I did also put an additional memo on the DS this evening from myself, just titled Fostering Golf Course Communication. Primarily what I wanted to point out is there's a particular item in the lease, item 4, that is really the basis of communication. And it's pretty simple. It basically says the lessor will be provided with all, that's the city, will be provided with all meeting times and agenda, minutes of meeting, and financial statements of lessee on a quarterly basis. A selected member of the city council or city manager, or as selected by city manager, shall serve as ex officio members of lessee's board of directors and shall have access to all information privy to other board members. So the club has signed this, and the reason I just want to point this out is I think that communication is very important. See, I can't talk tonight either, Mayor. You got me going. And what I'd like to do as a city manager is appoint 2 of my employees who could alternate, as well as we already have a council liaison, but they're both golfers. They're both like the course, and they're very interested in, making everything work there. And that's our finance director, Jenny Sines, and Bob Gill, who is our HR coordinator. And so I'd like to, with the council's concurrence, add those folks to the mix. They were actually, when we were having our meeting Tuesday, they were out playing golf. So it was after hours, right? So, but anyway, I think they're both, kind of passionate about golf and really interested in it. And actually, they approached me and said, is there a way that we can get involved in that? And they want to help. And so I think that would be great if you all agree to that. And I think it's, this is just a really important piece of us having good communication. So I just want to make that point tonight. Obviously, if you've all reviewed the lease, you could decide if you want to approve that. And I think this is my part of it, and then Councilor Ellithorpe can talk about the second part, which is the grant opportunity.
Do you want me to talk about that now?
I don't know, what's the mayor think?
Is now the appropriate time?
You could either talk about that, or you can vote on the lease and then talk about that, however you'd like to handle it.
I guess for me, I'd rather vote on the lease. They're kind of 2 separate things. So I'd rather vote on the lease, and then we'll talk about the grant opportunity.
So, was that the form of a motion, Counselor?
Let me make a more formal motion to vote on the lease with the caveat of your communications and allowing Jennifer Sines and Bob Gill to be a part of the golf course meetings and privy to all of the information. I agree. It's a big part of what we need to have moving forward with the golf course, and I think the golf course would appreciate the conversation with the city. So I move that we approve that lease based on those things.
And I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the City of Monte Vista lease with the golf course.
The only concern I have is
It says ex officio, so they're not voting members.
Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Segola?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. I would hope that the council would vote to give a one-time, I don't know if it's called a stipend to the golf course. A $5,000 stipend would be nice. I believe that there is the opportunity for some matching funds, which would double that amount, and it would give the golf course a $10,000 total amount of money with which they can purchase a mower to redo some of I know they've got a lot of needs, but the very first basic need they had was a lawnmower. And I would like to put that before council. And I believe once we approve that, then I can work with some folks and do a grant to double that money, which is really pretty fortunate for us to be able to do that. So do we need a vote on that, or how does that move forward? Or other discussion?
Yeah, you obviously could have a discussion on it. It would take a vote because you're essentially making an appropriation, which then when we go to mid-year budget amendments, then that would be memorialized into those amendments.
Right, and where would the city be able to draw that amount of money from?
Those would come out of the Conservation Trust Fund.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. I believe that the mower is what the golf course needs. They said that was their most important thing right now. If something happens and the grant wouldn't come through, would we still have the money to be able to help them with the full amount? Good question.
The simplest answer would be yes, at the council's pleasure. We certainly, the city could fund that. We didn't budget for that, but within that CTF fund, I think we have an adequate balance to do that.
And then we talking about just the 5.
The 5 is what the city would contribute, and
Even if the grant is low.
yeah, then through DRG, there is our matching fund grant, most likely available. I can't say 100% until I see the money, but it's hopeful.
And I think if something happens, the grant doesn't come through, then we could come back at a later date and approve extra monies if the council would decide that's necessary.
Yeah, most definitely. And that DRG grant, it's from DRG Development Resources Group. It's called a DOLA mini grant. The maximum project amount is $10,000, and it's a 50-50 match. So, and it comes down to what the actual cost of the project is. So let's just say the mower all shipped and delivered was $9,500. And we need a firm price on that for Councilor Ellithorpe to submit the grant. And then they just will fund half of it. We could fund the differential if it was a little bit more than that or something. But they kind of made the rules a little tighter than they had before. But the project that they match can't be over 10,000.
So the motion has been made, hasn't it?
So I will second that.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the $5,000. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Segola?
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Jake, I got one push mode.
Two goats, we do it, herd of goats.
Agreed.
When we have that work session, we had to bring that up correct, so everybody would know, right, for public notice. We have a work session, is that, Nita, you need to do that, or just read it?
So that it would be for you all to shake your heads, give a nod that you all agreed to a work session on May 1st that will be posted. It'll be May 1st at 5:30 at the golf course to do a walkthrough of the buildings there.
Technical glitch on that.
They have to meet at City Hall.
Yeah, I believe so. We'll check
And-
that, and we'll make the announcement when it's appropriate if you agree to do the work session. If I recall, looking back at, we'll have to look back at that. You may have to meet here, open the work session, and then you can go wherever you want to go, but I believe
That
it
is-
says
it is
that
correct.
that's correct. So the council will convene the work session here at City Hall. You all say hi, work session's convened. Yeah, it's awkward, but it is what our rules say, and then you can go over to that.
Perfect.
Everybody, looks like you got all the head nods. Staff reports, forests, city manager.
All right, so a couple things. Good news on the Monte Vista Urban Renewal Authority front. One of the issues we had was conducting, historical environmental reviews, and we hired a consultant, Espinosa Cultural Services from La Jara, and they actually do work all over the United States and to plan it as far as I know. But anyway, this consultant knows a better way to do it than the way we're approaching it. So we actually had 42 properties assessed. And there's maybe 4 of those that we probably cannot work with. The rest of them then are broken out between 2 project types. We still have to go through History Colorado to get the final approvals, but the reports are all written, so we'll get that turned around. So that's good news. The county sales tax lien sale will be taking place May 2nd, and the URA has 3 properties on that, which at this point, 2 of them I'm pretty sure we're going to get, and the third one, I don't know, it might be that it gets redeemed. So we'll see if that happens or not. But anyway, URA is making progress, and then we hope in June to be able to demo 2 or 3 properties, actually maybe 4. One of the properties that we're working on, Rob's crew is going to do a little work on, so that the it's all takes consultants, so the hazardous material consultant can finish his inspection of that property. We also had that inspector down this week, looked at the 117 Adams property, so we should have a report in a week or so on that. I don't think he saw anything that was particularly scary, and that will allow the URA to move forward with our potential partner to redevelop that building. So that's pretty exciting. Today I met with the city manager of Alamosa, Heather Brooks, Jim Belknap, and Brandon Gallegos, to discuss the renewal of the IGA for IT services. It was a really good meeting and very simple. We're not looking at changing the document any. The cost of it will go up $5,000, considering we've had the same price for 3 years. The new IGA would be for 3 years as well at a fixed cost that's $5,000 over what we previously had, but we did budget for that this year, and that will take effect in June, so we're only paying part of that this year, but we did have that in our budget as that cost, so that all went really well. It seems to be a highly mutually beneficial relationship for both them and us in different ways, and so we're excited to see that continue. We had the airport master plan kickoff meeting and open house on April 9th, and it was pretty well attended by some airport users. The consultants did a nice job. They met with the airport board and a couple of users in the afternoon, and then they had an open house. There were some good discussions. The airport board and the city will be putting out an RFP for the fixed base operator when I get it done, which will probably be in a few weeks. Our current operator has been there a long time, Art Jones, and he's a great guy, and he's kind of ready. So, we talked about him in advance, and we have at least one really good candidate for that. A lot of things going on out at the airport. Were you going to talk about that at all, Rob? Okay, I will then. Because I always do this to Rob. He's sitting there, and I go, whoosh, and I talk, and he's like, yeah. So, there's a lot of things, and the master plan is kind of a big deal. We also applied to the consultants. There's some discretionary money the FAA has for airport resurfacing projects. We did apply for that. They said we'll know in April, which means May or June, whether we got that money. That's $4 million for redoing the runway as the runway exists. We are scheduled in our plan to do a runway resurface, reconstruction. But if this happens, then this would allow us in, is it 2 years, Rob? 2021 to actually expand the runway in width and length. So it could take slightly larger aircraft. There's a lot of latent issues out there that we have to work on: the fuel system, the fabulous taxiway, which will get redesigned in this process. That was our last project, and the turns are too sharp, even for a snowplow. So anyway, a lot of things to fix out there, and we'll have to work on fencing, and I know Alamosa is fencing their airport, and that's pretty spendy. Of course, their airport area is a lot larger than ours, so. Anyway, there'll be a lot of things going on with that. I think our next public meeting is in September. November? Let's see, I should let Rob talk. But in November, they'll come back and most of the draft will be done. And so we'll let you all know when that happens. One thing that's not great news, I suppose, but it's just reality. Last year in November, there was an announcement from DOLA that there was some gray and black marijuana enforcement grants available. And you could either opt in, and we got money for it previously, but you either had to opt in or opt out. And we opted in, you know. It's like, well, it was like, check a box, you opt in, and we got sent the contracts and everything. But kind of where we're at with, you know, the police department's doing a whole lot of efforts right now, like the LEAD program, which is going really, really well here. I'd say our officers are exceeding what, you know, certainly as a startup, what they've seen in Alamosa. So they're doing a really great job with it. But we're kind of focused on that, and we kind of had planned, it's really directly related to marijuana enforcement and trafficking, and that may not be our biggest priority at the moment. So I'm going to request the council approve turning back the funds this year. It's not a black mark. You know, we actually didn't activate the grant, you know, and then they called and said, well, do you guys think you can do it by June 30th? And I said, I didn't think we could. So they said, well, what do you want to do? And so I think we can turn that back. It's really no harm, no foul. They'll have future funds. But I think the efforts of the police department aren't right on that. And what we hope to do is kind of create district attorney, city police, the SO, and the DA's office all to work on that. And you can share the funds with the DA's office, but we're just not there yet, unfortunately. But when they released it, it didn't seem quite as prescriptive as it is. So I'm going to ask the council to authorize the mayor this evening to sign a letter that I drafted that will return the funds. They will be available, I'm sure, ongoing. Yeah, if you're all okay with that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, that's just one of those that, I think the timing for us wasn't quite perfect, but it might be next year. I mean, I think, you know, the chief and the officers are doing a great job, and the chief's really doing a great job of networking with other law enforcement agencies in the valley. So hopefully we can all kind of make a strategy for that, and maybe different agencies in the valley can all apply for that, and we can work together. So we're, you know, but that will take a little longer to set up than June 30th. And I think that's all I have, unless you all have any questions. All righty, thank you.
Mr. Trujillo.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I think as Forrest indicated, looks pretty good for the tax thing. We had a couple little hitches we talked about, came to the same conclusion on one of the issues, and so I think we're going to be fine on getting our property taxes, and hopefully that'll all work out on those properties. We did have a work session for some of the folks that maybe weren't there with a rep from Adams State, kind of interesting, the other night, along with the golf course workshop. And I'm glad the council approved the lease with the golf course. I think there had been a lease, but I don't know how long it's been since it's been renewed. It's probably 10 years old, I don't know. Yeah, so we hadn't had anything apparently with the city and the golf course for some time, and I think part of the problem was really lack of communication
in that they did their thing and the city didn't care unless they heard from them probably in the past. And I think it's going to work out a whole lot better with, I know Jake's got a lot of time and effort probably working on this issue with the financial plans and all the things they've put together, but I believe it's an important part of the city, and certainly if we don't have this communication, it's just going to be problems, I think. But as long as the golf course stays in tune with the city, I think that will be a good asset for us, and I think that we're on the right track there. Nothing too major. Otherwise, trying to finish up an ordinance on cats and what we do with them. I'm not sure budget-wise where we might be with that, but I'll certainly present something or have something by the next meeting for the chief and the council, and we can look at it and see if that's something everybody wants to work on. Busy court schedules, and probably going to get worse as the summer warms up and time. I'm sure the police will be out in a little bit more force as things get warmer. But things are basically going overall very well. We have a few glitches here and there, but I think last court date we didn't have any communications, right? No computers or something, but so we did it the old-fashioned way, wrote it down some. But overall, things are going pretty well, and we're handling most of the cases as they come up and trying to resolve those issues and get people on their way. Other than that, really don't have anything else for the council, unless council has questions of me.
Mike, on community service, if they're giving community service, is that confined to certain things, or is there, if there's a project that needs to be taken care of, and we bring it to the judge, then she can say, yeah, that's a good one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you've got projects we basically, there's kind of a list of nonprofits that somebody can go work on, a church or a school or wherever, and get credit for the community service time they've done. A lot of times if Hyman needs help, we push them in that direction. But certainly if somebody has a project that needs to get done, a cleanup project, for example, that we need some help on, just let Nita know and we'll push them in that direction. We either usually get money out of them or we get their time. And so yeah, if there's a project that might need help, just let us know and we'll push them in that direction.
This is not for somebody who really needs to be punished.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Just got to tell us.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Council.
It's your turn, man. Don't look so excited about it.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. Chief couldn't be here this evening, so he asked me to give the police report. So you guys don't know, I'm Eugene Ortega. I'm the sergeant here. Some of the events that we have coming up this Saturday, the 20th at 10 o'clock at Chapman Park, we have the PD's annual Easter egg hunt. Officer David Pino's been working on it, getting donations. We got a lot of donations from the Elks. They help out with the eggs. Last year they provided around 2,000 eggs. We don't know how much they're going to donate this year, but we're expecting somewhere around there is what they told us. We also got some help from Sonic, Dairy Queen, and Family Dollar. So the donations definitely make this program and events possible. So look out for that. Everybody's invited. Bring the little ones for the Easter egg hunt. Neighborhood Watch, Chief had mentioned something about planting trees at Sanchez Park here coming up in May, I believe it's 17th. So look out for that. And just wanted to continue to build and grow our development of this districts and these programs that we want to work on the council and with the PD guys. We've been encouraging our guys to, if they have any sort of ideas or anything that they notice in certain areas, so that we can start doing something about it. And I encourage you guys to do the same. If you have any ideas, anything that you guys feel would help, any little thing that would help where you live or around the city, get a hold of the chief, myself, Sergeant Martinez, somebody, so we can start looking into it, looking how we can work together and make this better. So we have just a reminder, the Crime Stoppers is still doing their raffle for the Weatherby rifle. It's going to be available. The raffle, I believe he said, is in October, so we still have a little bit of time, but you can get with board members for tickets. If you have any questions, we can put you in contact with who you need to. Nikki Rosecrans, I believe, is the president, and Mark, I believe, is Renshaw, is the vice president. So they should be able to direct you if you want tickets or anything like that. And then just a reminder, on April 26th, Chief will be joining Councilor Lorenz on the walkabout downtown. So just look out for that. Another reminder with the LEAD program. So we do have Holly Snow is officially on board now. She started and we met her last week, I believe. She does have an office here at the PD up at the front. Like Chief said last time, she represents all of Rio Grande, but we're the biggest agency here, so she's centered out of here because she's always working with Alamosa and whatnot. But to date, we have 9 referrals to LEAD, and out of the 9, we still have 6 of them that are active. LEAD has been getting a lot of mixed reviews from people that I've talked to. Personally, I think it's a really good program. You're not going to see big improvements and things like that. It's going to be little things, one person at a time, but if it makes a difference for that one person, I think it's worth it. If the money's there and the people are there, the resources are there, might as well use it. So doing some really good stuff. The crime activity, I believe you guys have the stats in front of you for the PD. Just a couple that I wanted to touch on are burglaries. We have 8 for the first quarter. That's down from last year. We had 10 at this time, so it's down a little bit. Last year we had, I believe he said 90 for the year. So we're on pace for a little less than that. Usually now that it's getting warmer, people are out and about, so we'll have to keep an eye on those numbers there. Here under thefts, we're at 28 for the first quarter. Again, last year we were at 38, so we are making some improvements with the thefts. Overall, we have, our reports are up for the PD. We were at 246 last year, we're at 317 so far this year, or for the first quarter this year. Our citations are down. We were at 451, and this year we're at 348. So I think we have, just a give and take. We have more reports that we're taking, we're having less. But also I think it's kind of my next point here. We have some officers that are in training and whatnot. First, we have Officer Patrick Luzak. He left the police department. His last day was April 15th, so he's no longer with us. He's getting out of law enforcement is my understanding. So good luck to him and his family. He has better opportunities. We have 2 officers that are in field training right now, so just an update on their progress. One of them is finishing his phase 2 and the other one's finishing his phase 1. They're right on track where they should be. If barring anything major, they should be right on time, getting done about the end of May, the first one, and then just a little after that for the second officer. So they're doing really well so far. Brandon Stevens, we had to push his official FTO start back. They pushed back his graduation from the academy to the 17th. So he'll be starting roughly a week after that, after he gets post and everything. Officer Cisneros and Ruckus, the canine, they completed their training this last month. A couple weeks ago they got back. They are certified, everything's good to go now, so he is able to use Ruckus now on the road. That puts us back at 2 full-time canines, so we have one on each side of the week, so we always have a canine on, so they're ready to go. Code enforcement, Officer Patrick Montoya couldn't be here tonight. He's actually out of town for training. He's at the Animal Control Officers Conference. He couldn't be here, so trying to fill in on this code enforcement part. At 829 Lyle, Public Works executed a work order, and I don't know too much about that one.
It was a property cleanup, like driveways and foreclosure. So we had an issue.
And the last thing is at 459 Lyle, Officer Montoya was able to work it out with Waste Management, and they provided one of those roll-off dumpsters. They were able to load up all the debris and whatnot that they had on the property, and the only thing that they were responsible for, the homeowners, was the fee at the dump. So I don't know how he was able to do that, but that gave them a big break, and the yard does look a lot better now. So good job on that one. I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Appreciate what you guys do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Vance.
Good evening. You guys have my report. I'll just touch on a few things. We are in full gear up for summer mode, so we've been out. A lot of our time the last couple, well, at least the last week, we've been working at the golf course and trimming some trees and getting things ready that way. For you and Officer Pino, we went ahead and opened the bathrooms at Chetland Park today, so they'll be ready for Saturday. So the little kids will have a place to use the restroom. So that's done. We unfortunately, I'll tell you guys one bad thing on our sweeper. We put that out on the streets to try to clean up from all the winter sands and stuff. Unfortunately, it had another breakage. This was the regeneration system on the motor. Completely went out. The bill for that is $9,110. So that's a little over $40,000 we spent on that sweeper in 2 years. So I will be coming to you guys to seriously talk about running that thing off of a cliff, I think. So we're running. I've got our old sweeper. We've got it over at Monte Vista Machine and Tool, and having them give us an estimate to redo the fan assembly on that and just try to do away. Unfortunately, with that new sweeper and that Tier 4 motor, it is just it's not designed to run at idle. It's designed to run at highway speeds, so the regeneration system just doesn't ever get a chance to really operate. So unfortunately, it's a waste of production, but we are forced at least twice daily. We have to run that machine either up through center and do the loop down the Home Lake Road or over to Alamosa to get the operating temperature up so the regeneration system will actually function. So it's not productive, but it is what it is.
On the water and sewer, we are getting the plant, the veterans plant, fired back up and ready to discharge. So we've been doing a lot of work on that, or not we, they have. We also, April was our first month of shutting people's water back off. That's a policy that council's adopted, that during from December through March of each year, we don't physically turn water off for non-payment. What we found this year, that a lot of folks, for whatever reason, had chose not to pay their bills. So we did shut water off last week. We shut 47 folks down. So that was a pretty good. Hopefully people understand that it just really compounds the bills to let them sit and do that. So hopefully they won't do that. Good news, Prospect's pump is back up and running. It's back online. We are currently working to get some SCADA in those systems, so if something were to happen at one of the pumps, which was a recent problem we had, that it would automatically call up the other pumps and not have the human delay of having to realize that the pressure's low and have somebody physically run out and fire up another pump. So we're working on that, and hopefully that'll be in place, I'm hoping before the end of May. So working on that. Really proud of the job they did. Prospect pump looks really good. I've been doing a whole lot of stuff. Most of it's been kind of gearing up for the summer projects. I've been working with our engineers on our streets, water, and sewer projects, and we're kind of combining our water and streets project into one. We're going to go ahead and try to pave the last portion of Dunham this year from 4th down to Lariat. Put a pavement on there, and in doing so, we're going to go ahead and replace the water service lines. We're going to do some investigations, but as long as the pipe is C900, the main, we won't replace it, but if it's the ACP, asbestos concrete, we'll go ahead and replace the main before we actually pave. That's our primary detour route if 160 gets closed through town, so that's why it was chosen. So I won't talk about the airport. I wasn't going to go into much detail as Forrest did, but a couple other items, things for people to note. Our cleanup days is going to be May 10th and May 11th. That's Friday and Saturday. We will be collecting residences' trash and garbage at the Public Works facility, just like we have in the years past, on May 10th from 8 to 4, and then on May 11th from 8 until noon. So we got flyers and everything. They were out today. I think they should be in the paper next week, and hopefully start hearing it on the radio here pretty quick. Arbor Day, the proclamation, I'm going to bring that proclamation back to council on May 2nd, the first meeting. Okay. We had a little glitch in getting trees. They won't actually be delivered to us until the week of the 10th of May, so it's kind of hard to do an Arbor Day celebration without a tree. So we'll postpone that until May 17th. So we'll be doing that. Another announcement that went out today is our mosquito spraying will begin May 2nd. That's Thursday. We did take some of the money that was budgeted and get a couple of used trucks that should serve us a little better. These are automatics and have air conditioning, so protect our operators a little bit more. So got 2 trucks for the price of 1 engine, so that's not too bad. Told you about the sweeper. Our SLV transportation grant is in full swing. We had a meeting about a month ago. There's a survey that's been floating around Facebook and in the paper and stuff, so take some time. What we're trying to do is develop some sort of a bus system on the western half of the valley to get people to medical, shopping. CDOT has a thing called the bus tank that takes people to the bigger cities of the Front Range. We're trying to look at something a little more smaller. We have the Eagle line that is running from Salida, Saguache, Del Norte, Monte Vista, and Alamosa twice a week, one towards Salida and then one towards Alamosa, to try to get the folks services that they don't have as far as getting into doctor's appointments and even shopping. It's small enough right now that the driver's actually able to take those people that ride the bus and drop them off at Walmart, pick them back up, or take them actually to the doctor's office so they can go. So it's service. This grant was a CDOT funded grant, so it costed the city $1,000. So, and it's a $39,000 grant to do a study so we can get CDOT to recognize that the western half of the valley needs transportation services. So, good thing. I won't be at the next meeting. I will be attending a workshop of the Colorado Association of Road Supervisors and Engineers in Montrose. Doing a little more training on streets and stuff, try to make sure I'm familiar with everything that's kind of changed in the industry. But I'll make sure everything's ready so it can all be presented at the council meeting that night. Okay. And with that, any questions? Be happy to answer.
Are people using the transportation system?
It is. It's on average. It's a small bus. It's a 14-passenger bus. On average, they carry between 5 and 8 people each day they run. They run on Tuesdays and Wednesdays of each week. So, yeah. So it's being used. It's not completely to capacity. We're seeing how it's not even a year that it's been running. We're doing actually better than the Chaffee Shuttle did when they first started out running between Salida and Alamosa. So, they started. So that's good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. IT.
Exhausted today. It really has been. So Brandon and Jim were out all of this week, so I've been running around doing everything. They finally got back today. But we've had a lot of things accomplished. You guys have the report. I'll just skim through a few of them. One of the biggest things, the room is complete. Robin is doing a really good job putting that together. I love it. But we are currently working on populating it. It'll really help because the old server, it is full. Like, you walk in there, it's a rat's nest. And there's nowhere to place anything. And we just need to move some of it out of there so we can clean it up. And that'll be coming along. But we did finish getting all of the MDTs, or mobile data terminals, delivered to the police department. So far I haven't heard any issues on them. That's always good to hear. And how are you guys liking the phone? They are testing out FirstNet, which is a, what would you call a national government funded phone system for police, fire, medical. It's in case of emergencies, if we ever have anything bad happen, they get priority. So when the system jams up, they can still communicate with each other. It should work really well. I think the biggest problem is it's being built by AT&T. But so we have adopted it in Alamosa, and it seems to be working fairly well. And they are being introduced into it and are testing a couple hotspots and a phone. But let's see here. Because another thing is we had to come up and adopt a policy for the new PII policy. What is it? It has something to do with privacy and personal information. The state released, what is it? HB 1128 and other policies along those lines. And when they released that, we were not up to compliance and had to adopt a couple policies and update. And that came with audit as well, which I know Jim worked with. I can't remember her name, but I know that was a fun process. And we got all of Public Works, or at least 15 of them, We switched out their phones with the Cat S60s, which came from Alamosa. They're fairly good phones. They're fairly indestructible, and they're a whole lot better than the G3s they replaced. That process was fun. Had to work with each of them, get everything transferred over. But other than one or two issues here or there, it seems to be working fairly well. Unless they go into the clarifier, where you don't want to jump in and try to pull it out. And yeah, I don't think anyone will be safe in that phone.
They're submersible up to 15 or 5
Other than that, we've had a lot of updates come through recently, security patches. We had to update Cassell and also change some security measures on there to come into compliance with the new policies, and just a lot of little things from there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Glad it's your job.
You know, I love this job, but certain weeks it's a mentally and physically taxing job.
Council committee, city commission, council reports.
Monday was Neighborhood Watch. I was out of town, and Margot and Margaret handled the meeting. I had Chief did a presentation on active shooter scenarios and presentation, and everyone thought that was awesome. Everybody really enjoyed that. And Neighborhood Watch is working with the Arbor Day group to put the planting in Sanchez Park and kind of get Neighborhood Watch out there to meet some of the residents and for you to have some of the snacks and goodies and just make a nice morning of that. That was the postponed, the Monte Vista Arbor Day will be the 17th at 10 a.m. And so we're hoping to have lots of people in Sanchez Park.
And that's the park in there.
And so Neighborhood Watch went well. April 17th, I had a library board meeting, and it was our turn to be at the Carnegie Library in South Fork. And we hadn't spent much time there before, and so that was really interesting to go to the library and meet some of the people up there. They are getting ready for the 100th anniversary, I hope I've got that right, of the library. And there have been donations from several community members. They're going to be replacing not the wood front doors, but the white storm doors. And I believe they're going to put on some really nice storm doors. And so they're going to have an anniversary celebration along with that. So that's going to be coming up. The 26th, April 26th, this walkabout with Nita and Chief, and that'll be fun. I think that's everything right now.
I guess I've spent most of my time working on golf course and golf course issues. And as always, the animal shelter is absolutely packed. We actually didn't have the influx of cats and kittens that we assumed, and we usually get in the springtime. Mike, I appreciate your work on the cat ordinance, and if you need help, I'd be happy to help with that and give the shelters input. I'm sure you don't need any of the other stuff, but the shelter always has some good ideas. Always spay and neuter your animals and don't let them run loose. That's what I can encourage everyone to do, keep them at home.
And I think the proclamation of the prayer day here in Monte Vista is a great thing. I also think that the cleanup days are very important for the city. You know, there's a lot of people that don't get the opportunity to take advantage of those days. So if you know of anybody, you know, maybe that doesn't have the help to get something clean, maybe they can get a hold of somebody who can, I'd be willing to help. So if you guys know of anybody who needs help in anything, just myself know, or any of these guys, and they can pass that information along. So,
Keep in mind Pirate Pride Day, which is always a really good group of young high school kids. Do you know what day that is? I think it is, and that's why you plan our cleanup day. Get with the high school. They always look for people who need their help, and I know they do a great job of yard work and trimming and anything you might need. So, as well as other church groups, right, Victor? There you go.
Don't they have lists too at the city hall, people that volunteer to help us do stuff? We used to, didn't we? Or done it in the past?
We have in the past, we really don't have a list of them. Who's like the done there? Usually, it's school staff.
Well, they go all over town, and they'll do windows, and they always come out to the Monte Vista Cemetery, and I think, actually, they go to all the cemeteries. I think different groups go. It's a great service. Thank you for this.
there was another thing, I'm not sure if it's something that would be a go, but we had talked about it for our walkabout. Just wondering about the empty vacant storefronts in town. Just kind of wondering if maybe some of the students might be willing to decorate some storefronts instead of just leaving them,
And Counselor, I have reached out to the school and I have not received a call back from our teacher as of this point yet.
I have nothing. Been too busy. Appreciate everybody for being here tonight. And people who will be watching us tomorrow. As a community, we just keep pulling strong and pull together. As always, we are all members of a local community. If we act like it, we will be successful. So we will adjourn the meeting until April, what's the date? May 2nd, I'm sorry. So, meeting adjourned till May 2nd.